All right. I'm Ann.
And I'm Dean.
We're going to talk about Hard Knocks.
That's right.
Week 1.
Season something 2000. It's 22 years they've been running, I think.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, it's been on for a long time, Hard Knocks. This is episode 1 of the Jets.
What? Yes. Well, I thought maybe we could start it off with just our broad takeaway from that episode.
Go ahead.
All right.
What do you got?
I felt they were very optimistic for this season, which maybe that makes sense. They have quite the team lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was in good spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, you did watch the Detroit Lions with me.
Yes, that
last
felt
season.
More like a rebuilding.
Okay.
Yes. That felt like they were kind of at the bottom and they had to work their way up, whereas the Jets seemed like they're starting pretty high and going even higher.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Good take.
I don't know what your takeaway. What was your overall?
Yeah, I felt like they were definitely hyping up the Aaron Rodgers joining the team, which, you know, he's going to be a great addition to any team.
Yeah.
But I think they have a lot of great coaches and some great players.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good observation.
Yeah. Should we dive into the nitty-gritty of the episode?
I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the overall presentation of the episode? Like, what did you think about how they were presenting what they were presenting?
How they were presenting what they were presenting?
You know, like the production.
I thought it was joyful, optimistic. Everyone was positive. It was all about ball throwing and balls. It was a lot. I felt it was a lot of focus.
There was
on
a lot
Aaron
of balls.
Rodgers. Yes, it was a lot of focus on how he can throw. I mean, I didn't think it was distracting. I felt like that we didn't even get too much of an insight into how things ran.
Yeah, that's a downfall that I noticed. I only really had 2 complaints about this episode, and one of them was that it wasn't very in depth. It was a lot of like introducing. Maybe that's the first episode. Maybe I have to go back and watch. But the first episode, It seemed like they were just introducing everybody, the cast of characters.
Yeah. And
sort of the mindset of the team and where everyone's at. And then later episodes, maybe we'll get into individuals and the process, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the coaching stuff. I like watching the coaches do their job. You know, think about things and help people understand their positions better. And we saw Aaron Rodgers do some of that.
Yes.
As a mentor to the other Qs.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so you have some notes. I have some notes.
Well, I think the first thing I wrote down was about the voice of God, the narrator. Yes, Aaron Rodgers really wanted to meet him, and he didn't name who it was. And then when the title sequence went by, I noticed it was narrated by Liev Schreiber, and that was unexpected. I did not recognize his voice. I have seen many of his films, and I have not watched that Ray Donovan though. So yeah. I can't say I'm like.
I think he's
a devoted fan.
Yeah, I think he's got a very distinctive look, and his voice is very strong, but it's not as distinctive as some other actors.
And maybe he has a reading voice, because I felt like when he did appear on the episode, I thought he sounded different in person than how he sounded when he's narrating, which would make sense. He's an actor.
Well, yeah, he's probably up in here like this,
yes,
you know.
Yes, his persona. I also thought when we saw him, he looked like Tom Hanks. A short Tom Hanks. When Tom Hanks is scruffy. If you've seen scruffy Tom Hanks
Scruffy
before.
Hanks? Okay.
Yes. And that was something I wrote down. So obviously I thought it was very important.
Well, the show opened with a flashback to Super Bowl III with Joe Namath winning the Super Bowl, and that's the only Super Bowl win for the Jets.
Oh, wow.
And that was the other complaint that I had, was that they played this old-timey sort of martial band music for a really long time. The intro just lasted forever, and we're jamming it through this stereo. And it just was really distracting at the very beginning. I was excited about it, but then I started turning the volume down. I'm like, So bad choice on the music there.
Yeah.
That's all.
I see you have a note about the motivational speech right at the beginning too. the Crow and the Eagle.
Yep.
They seem to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. The team. Mm-hmm. I don't know if is their mascot an eagle?
The Jets are like airplanes, yeah.
Okay, I was like, where is this eagle metaphor coming from?
Because it was like the jet set, back in the day, in New York City, the jet set, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then I was curious about if they have speech writers or if the coach is like a pastor and he writes these things himself.
I think the coaches usually just write stuff themselves. Yeah, speech writing, that would be interesting though.
My next question, because it was the head coach giving that speech, was: do bald men want shiny heads, or do they want a matte head? He had a very smooth head, and that was just a thought that popped into my.
I have no idea.
Yes, I know you have. There's something. No, I mean, he looks great bald, but I was just curious as what is the style. But you're the wrong person to ask.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in that field. Yeah, so the Crow and the Eagle, I thought it was going to go a different way, actually, because I thought he was saying we're the Crows and we're going to attack the Eagles, because not that the Philadelphia Eagles are in this analogy, but like I thought he was going to be talking about the high flying teams that always win, that are and we're the underdogs, we're the Crows, and we're going to attack the Eagles because we're the only ones that dare attack them. And he turned it around the other way, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that crows fly too high, and then they can't breathe, and they die.
The Eagles fly because the crows attack them on their backs, so the Eagles go up really high, and then the crows are like, fuck this.
Yes, that was interesting. Yes.
All right, and so what do we get then? So that was Saleh kind of introducing his philosophy, I think. And then we see Aaron Rodgers come out to practice the practice field. And I don't think this was the first time he was on the practice field. I think it was just the first time that it was caught by Hard Knocks, maybe. But everybody was cheering and screaming and losing their minds. The crowd that shows up for training camp.
Yes, that was quite the... I don't remember that in last season's Hard Knocks, of anybody getting cheered on like that.
Yeah, I can't recall either. That was the Lions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a lot of enthusiasm. Which made me wonder, are people excited or intimidated? But as the show went on, I feel like the entire team was excited. Nobody was too intimidated.
Yeah.
And even that Zach Wilson, the raw rookie QB,
oh yeah, raw rookie from 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, I seemed very excited to learn from him. Which, that's a great opportunity for any rookie QB to learn from the master. Yeah, he got the GOAT.
Zach Wilson got shoved into the starting quarterback position because they just didn't have anybody else. And he was, as you said, a raw rookie, and he had some bright moments those 2 seasons, but he really struggled. So now he's taken the back seat to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers took a back seat to Brett Favre for a few years. I think 2 or 3 years.
Yes, 2 or 3. I agree.
You don't.
Zach Wilson seemed so young and earnest and eager.
He looks 12.
Yes, he was very fresh-faced. Even amongst the other young rookies that they showed, he just seemed so, untouched, unweathered. So I think he'll learn a lot this season.
I hope.
I hope so too. I think he will, since he seems so eager and earnest and baby-faced.
Yeah, and unless Aaron Rodgers gets injured, he plays the whole season. I mean, Aaron Rodgers doesn't let anybody else play. He's up there all the time. So it'll be interesting to see if Zach gets any play time. So there was a lot of humor at the beginning, like especially Aaron Rodgers. He was making a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sarcasm and a lot of shit giving, but it's playful, and I really like his relationship to Hackett, the offensive coordinator. They're good friends, and we'll talk more about him in a little bit. But also, there's a lot of and everybody has to have their individual handshakes with everybody else. You can't just slap hands. You can't just pat them. You got to have some kind of crazy routine that you do. That's silly.
Yeah. I liked when younger players were talking to Aaron Rodgers and saying, "I grew up watching you." That just makes you just realize how old Aaron Rodgers really is, having a
25-year-old.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I watched you when I was 7.
The first football game I ever watched. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that go ahead. Did you have something?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No. Well, I should have. This is also something I noticed because it was near the beginning. Aaron throws the ball, and somebody said that was sexy.
Okay.
And then that's when we broke into the whole montage with the song "Shiver" by Ed Sheeran, which is
okay.
I know you're like, I don't like that song, but I'm like, that's kind of a interesting.
I didn't notice it, so
I noticed just because I'm like, oh, I never applied this to football and football giving you shivers in this way, and I just felt like they were really making it sexual for. Like, but the sport.
It's sexy.
Yes. That's what
throwing a ball and catching a ball is sexy.
Yes.
Did you have shivers when you were seeing?
No, because I just thought it was really funny that's what they were playing. It gave me a tickle, as they say.
Now the thing you're not a huge football fan.
You're
enjoying
Excuse me?
You're not.
I'm the biggest football fan.
Not at all.
Yes. I'm not wearing my LA Rams shirt right now, but under normal circumstances.
Have you ever watched an entire game?
Yes. Yes.
But what I'm getting at is, do you feel more inclined to watch now after watching this episode? Are you more interested in football than you were
after watching this episode of Hard Knocks?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Fair.
I am curious to how the Jets will do this season after everybody's been fawning over.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, and then I started thinking, is Tom Brady still around?
No, he is officially
retired.
Yeah,
so,
apparently.
Okay.
It's gonna stick this time, I guess.
Okay.
We'll see. He might take a year off and then come back because he's genetic.
Who's older?
I think Brady's older.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got some brief shots, scenes in the position meeting rooms, the coaches, the individual coaches, the smaller rooms. And I enjoy that myself, but it was so fast and it was just bam, bam, bam. And I think they're just setting the stage for what the rest of the season is going to be like for them. I think what they do with Hard Knocks is they just film everything that they can. And then they go back and like, what's the best 60 minutes we can put into this episode that's current? Because it will get to the point where they're showing they did show the preseason game that they played, the Hall of Fame game, but they're going to have an episode after each game to kind of show you what happened and then what's the aftermath of that game and so on. So I think they're setting us up for that. So this first episode, I think, was just kind of Aaron Rodgers is in New York, you know?
Yes, it definitely felt like that.
The other thing that I felt was missing from this episode compared to other seasons so far is the focus on the young guys. They did a little bit with Zach, but he's been there. This is third year. And they introduced a couple people, but they really do a pretty good job of developing storylines around guys that might not make the team, you know? And by the end of Hard Knocks, it's like, okay, we're going to cut half the players got to go. Something like that. Maybe not half, but they got to get it down to 53 men, and they have 100 and something now, or whatever it is, 70. I don't know.
Get it down to 53.
53 men. Yeah. Okay, so what else you got?
We already talked about Lee Schreiber, but I did like how he came on a helicopter. Yes.
You know, he's been the voice of Hard Knocks the entire time.
That's most impressive.
Since 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did look up his filmography. Yes, after, because I couldn't remember everything I'd seen him in.
Any surprises?
I'd forgotten he was in Scream. The Scream series.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know that either.
So I'll have to revisit that. I made note of Woody Johnson, the owner.
Oh, yeah, he was there for like a second, wasn't he?
Yes, an older gentleman. And it just got me curious as to how you become an owner.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's money.
I think that has something to do with it.
Yes, I would assume most of it has to do with money or nepotism.
That would be interesting. We should research, how do you become an owner? You know, my friend Brad actually is an owner. He's a part owner of the Green Bay Packers. Because they do a shared ownership thing.
Is that anything to write home about?
Oh.
Sorry. Well, that's interesting. We should ask him how it works.
Well, but it's different because most teams are not like that. In fact, that's the only team that's like that. All the other teams are owned by an individual or a family or something like that.
I was curious about if the players, when they switch teams, they have to sign like an NDA so they don't talk about the team they were previously on.
I wondered about that too, but I don't think they do. I think they're allowed because I mean, it's just how could you prove that they didn't? You know?
Yeah, I imagine they won't talk about it in Hard Knocks, but I mean, I'm assuming locker room talk.
They're probably using every bit of knowledge that they have about everything. Yeah, all the time. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to bring up Sean Payton.
Oh yeah, the controversy. Okay, so I was going to get into this discussion about Hackett and Sean Payton. So good move. What did you think?
I don't know the comments that he made.
So you know who Sean Payton is?
He's another coach.
He's another coach. He was at the Saints for a very long time, very successful coach, and then he retired. And I think he was going to go into the media, go into the broadcasting, and then he got another opportunity to coach, and now he's at Denver, and the Jets OC, Nathaniel Hackett, was, and I haven't done all my research on this, so I'm sure people will call me wrong on some of these points, but he was the head coach of the Broncos last year. They had a disastrous season, and they traded for Russell Wilson. They got a bunch of they gave away a bunch of picks, and they got Russell, and Russell's not what he used to be. So they had a pretty bad year, and I guess that was his only year as a head coach, and he wanted to go back to working with Aaron Rodgers. So he's back with the Jets now, or on the Jets. And I guess Sean Payton called him out publicly and said he did a lousy job. And then Aaron Rodgers defended him and basically said, "Keep my coach's name out of your mouth."
Yeah,
that was interesting.
I think he could be a bigger person. Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, but
I think he was in the right. Yeah, I don't know why these coaches are bad mouthing other coaches.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't seem to be a smart professional move. I mean, maybe he didn't call out any individual, but he did call out the coaching was abysmal or something like that. I'm like, well, that starts with the head coach, so you are calling him out. I like Nathaniel Hackett. I never really knew much about him. I like him because he cusses a lot, and I appreciate that in these football players because so often we see
the religious ones.
We see the ones that are just like, "Gosh darn it!" Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I can't relate to those people that aren't afraid to throw the F-bomb once in a while. I probably do it too much, don't I?
No. You're not around anybody ever, so it's okay.
Wow. Edit that out.
This is a funny thing.
All right, what else you got?
Really not much else. The only other thing I wrote was about camera work. There's just this comedian who he made fun of the Oscars with the handheld cameras and getting really close to people's faces. And what that looked like from what he as the cameraman would look like. So he was making fun of the camera, just like this, and just getting really close.
Yeah.
And that's what I started thinking about because they did a few face shots, not as long as they were at the award ceremony. But that got me thinking about dollies and it has to be all probably handheld.
It's steady cams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the harness mounted. Yeah, probably.
Because it takes too much time, and those are for setups, and this is not set up at all, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
No
they also have some
staging.
drone shots and some crane shots, and they're probably getting video from people's phones too for different things. Yeah. There's cameras everywhere, high quality cameras everywhere now.
Yes, that's true. You're just always on camera. There's no way around it.
I like the mentorship that we saw. Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. Aaron teaching him how to move his feet and how to look down the field and things like that. I would like to see more of that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. All right, maybe we'll do a little edit until the dog calms down.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I had written down. That was important. I wrote down charcuterie board because that I thought was funny. And
what did he call it?
Charcuterie. Instead of
charcuterie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that's what he said. I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen.
So I guess the D line, they were all talking about going to a.
The D line is talking about coochie.
The D line was talking about coochie. No, they're talking about going to a Broadway play, and one guy knew how it was, and the other guys were arguing with him about it. So that was a fun little thing. There was a lot of humor in this episode. I like at the very end. There's Aaron Rodgers and Liev Schreiber, and they were doing a lot of joking around at the end credits. Well, he was doing it kind of by himself. He was doing some end credits, but he did ask Aaron Rodgers about why nobody wants to do Hard Knocks.
Yes, I did also. I wrote that down as well, and he said a lot of teams think it's a distraction, which I could. Yeah, I mean. You have to sit down and talk to the camera sometimes.
Yeah, it takes away from your free time. Yeah.
I think there'd be something fun about it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind a camera following me around my work. And yeah.
Well, you could do a lot of those gym takes at work.
Yeah. Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I'm looking forward to the rest of the. The thing about Hard Knocks is it always makes me root for that team, and so I follow them the rest of the year like I did with Detroit last year. I was excited for Detroit.
I can't say I'm rooting for them, but I will probably pay attention to see if they're putting their training to use, or if I'm like, hey, he
slacker ass.
Yeah, it's not practicing with the net enough.
Oh, the net shots were awesome.
Oh, yes, the net shots were awesome. That was crazy to watch it go so far and go into a tiny little hole. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yes.
So that's what they got to do. They got to throw it into these tiny little holes.
Yeah. So then when they have to throw it through the big hole, it's... I guess they don't throw it through a big hole. They run it to the touchdown. I was thinking they're throwing it through the
uprights.
No,
that's a huge hole.
They kick it through the uprights for the extra points. Yes. Yeah, they're not throwing it.
They didn't show any special teams in this episode. It was all offense and a little bit of defense.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, and thanks for all the things. Hit the subscribe button. I don't know what you do on YouTube.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you.
Yes.
We are professionals.
See you next time.
Okay.